Hello and welcome to this lesson. This time we're going to look at character type modification. Characters are letters. Type is the type tool. And so we're going to be modifying letters and paragraphs, characters, the type tool, text inside of a Photoshop document. So to start this, we're going to go to Create New. And we're going to create a new 1000 by 1000 by 72 resolution pixels per inch. Make sure it says pixels first, and you're going to do 1000 by 1000 pixels at 72 pixels per inch with a white background. When you click create, it should look something like this. Now on the left hand side, we have worked with a number of these tools before. The one we're looking at now is going to be the type tool, and the type tool has a T, and if you hold down the mouse or hold down the touchpad to pull up the submenu, you'll see that there are 4 options here. We are just going to work with the very first one, the horizontal type tool. If you click on it and everything turns red or does something like this, that means that you selected the wrong one. So you go back over here, horizontal type tool, do a undo vertical type mask tool. That'll get rid of that, and we're back to our normal background with the type tool selected. I'm going to choose Arial Black. The font is just regular. We're not doing bold. I have it 625 point right now. I want to lower that to 72. And I want the font color. You can see I can choose the font color over here. You can see that it changes the color picker over here. I'm going to leave that at black for right now, and I'm going to click out here and type my name. There we go. When I move my mouse, you'll see that when I'm on top of the text, I have an I-beam, a text editing insertion tool. And if I move my mouse above or below, you'll see that I get a black arrow with a 4-way move arrow. And that looks just like this one up here, the move tool. So this gives me the ability to move this text wherever I would like to. And you can see that as I move it, there's a black line underneath that text, and I have my cursor blinking at the end. The next thing I want to do is I would like to turn on a modification window. It's underneath, it's another panel that's going to give us some ability to edit this text. And up here at the top on the window tab, on the window menu item, we're going to go down, click on window, and then go down until you see the word character and click on that. That will open up a new panel on your ribbon. You'll see that here, this little ribbon between the workspace and the color picker, that there is a little ribbon right there, and you'll see that it just opened up 2 things: the A, which is the character, and the backwards P, which is the paragraph editing tab. So we have those 2 available to us now, and you'll see that my text is still here. I still have editing capabilities because I am still on the type tool, the T there. If I was to click on something else, you'll see that now there is no blinking cursor. I do not have the underline. If I click on the T again, it does not select this default by default. It doesn't automatically go back to this text. You can see that I'm still on this, but if I clicked over here, it would make a new layer, layer number 1, and it would have the fill text inside there as well. So I'm going to hit escape. I don't need that one. So in order to edit this text again, if you happen to accidentally unselect it, you're going to click in the middle of it someplace, and then that gives you the ability to highlight or select the entire listing of text. You can select each individual character or a group of characters as well. So you can only select the text if you have used you've clicked on the type tool and clicked inside of the text that you want to edit. we're going to need to, let's see if this does it or not. If I come down here and click on this one, you'll notice that it does not change the existing text. So I need to make sure that I highlight or select my text, and then as I go through here, you'll see that every time I go over and hover over top of another font style, that it's going to change the style visible on the workspace, on the desktop there, or on this area. So I have American Typewriter. You can see that it shows up as American Typewriter. So what I'd like you to do here is kind of go through, we're going to leave it as Arial Black, but look at all the different options that you can choose on here and what they do. So right now this is 72 point. If I go down to 18, you'll see that it makes it very small. If I increase this up to 72, you'll see that it's back to the normal size, what it was before. This one right here, if I hover long enough and don't click on anything, it's going to tell me what it does. And what this thing is, the kerning between the two characters means that it is going to be the spacing between each of the characters. And right now it has a 0. There, it's back to normal. I can click on some different things here and just see how it does. So what this is doing is changing the spacing between the letters. Down to the next one is going to do the scale vertically. And so if I come in here and I do a swipe of my mouse, it's going to make that percentage larger. You'll see that it's not making it any wider. It's just a vertical scale. So now I'm up to, I don't even know where it's going to stop, 273%. That's 73% taller than 100%. So the normal font. If I go back down to 100, press enter, it's going to go back down to normal. Here is the baseline shift. And you'll see that this is moving the text up, and you can see what that does right here. I have my capital letter, and then I have an up arrow with a little a next to it. And what that does is that takes my baseline, which is the bottom of where the text is, and it shifts that up in the air, whatever number of points, which is a size, up into the air. So if I go 0, it's going to move it right back down to the baseline, right back down there. If I take a -50, you're going to see that it drops it down the 50 points down below. So the other thing on here is you'll see that my hand has a little left and right arrow. Let's zoom in on there really quick. Whoa, there's my mouse. So when I'm hovering over top of these, you'll see that it switches. Like the cursor switches from a black arrow to a hand that has a left and right arrow. And if I click here and drag to the left, it's going to go negative. If I click and drag to the right, it's going to return towards the positive. So it's going to increase or decrease. Same thing here. If I bring this down, you can see that it's going, or to the left, it's going to go down. If I go to the right, it's going to go back up. So that's another easy way to get this set. You can do that on each one of these different settings. This one right here is the leading. If I click there and I click, it's going to do it. No, it's not. Let's leave that at auto. This one is for the tracking for selected characters. You'll see that it spaces it out. So it adds extra space. So this is 740. So I could spread letters out across an area. Let's go back down to 0. If you have to fit letters or your text into a specific area without adjusting the size, you can always do this, and you'll see that it squishes them together, but it does not affect the individual text, the font size. Let's Go back to 0. This one is the horizontal tracking or scale, sorry. Remember we did the vertical scale that stretched them this way. This is going to stretch them or shrink them together, and you can see that it's squishing them together. It's not changing the height by any set point, but it is changing the width of the letters. So if you have to fill something this way, you could actually probably work with both of these two to make your words or your text fit into the right area. Back to 0, back to 100%, right scale. Down here we have the ability to change the color again. We also have the ability, if you've used a word editing software, app or program, this is going to create a fake bold, faux bold. Sometimes we have the ability to change the style of that font right here. Let me see if I can choose one that would have, let's just go to Arial. Arial has a number of different options, italic, bold, or bold and italic put together. Just changes what the font looks like. Then you can also add a faux bold or fake bold on top of that. So it's going to make it even bolder. It's going to make it even more italicized. So it's going to change the font a little bit more. It gives it more of a custom look. I'm going to go back to my Arial Black. And you can see that I still have, it doesn't matter what I choose here. If I made some selections or some edits down here on this list, they are all going to appear here. So I can continue going through these. I can turn them. This does a all capitals, makes them all the same height. This does small caps, which is going to take the title case, make the first one big and everything else small, but they're still all capital letters. I can make them superscript, making them very small, like a exponent. This is the subscript, like the footnote. So if I had something else to the left of here, nope, it's not going to do it because I have that selected to begin with. Let's go over here, turn that one off. This underlines, and this is going to do the strike through. So it draws a line through it. These other ones will do additional things. Depending on the font style that you choose, you can make, sometimes these will light up and give you additional options that you can change for your text. It's going to change different settings there, and I can choose different fonts or languages if I need to use different. You notice that nothing changes here because the font didn't actually change. It's just changing the base language of the document. Here is a way to make the text smoother or sharper. Anything in here, there's a couple different settings you can play around with to see what it does to each of those. Sharp is going to have nice defined edges. Smooth is going to have some softening of those edges. I'm going to go back to my Arial Black. There we go. And that's what those do. The next thing to do, following the tutorial, is to type the text. And this says this is a paragraph. So I click down here, go to the text tool. Got to click off of it someplace else. Click on a different tool. Click on the T again, and then it gives us the ability to type down here. And I can say this is a paragraph of text. So on the example that I used in the tutorial, I pressed enter at the end of these to move everything together. And remember, you can use your four-way move tool here. Move it out to the middle. This time we're going to move over to the paragraph settings, and you can see that this is going to do different things on your paragraph. This one does the indent. We're going to bring that back down to 0. This is going to decrease the indent, so move it out if we had a paragraph. If we had things, it would hyphenate if we had bits and pieces that were on different lines. Lefted line, you can see it's just on this part right here. I can do a left align. I can do center, which is going to be center of the original click where I was entering the text. Right aligned, it's going to align everything on the right hand side. The reason why this does not look normal is because I have an extra space inside there. So I highlight that again. If we have the ability to do some of these, depending on the amount of text that we have, and we might use some of these later on, but just understanding that this one is going to add space before a paragraph. This is going to do the indentation of that first line of text. This is going to indent the whole left margin. This does the right margin, and this, I don't remember what this one does. Add space after the paragraph. So some blank space down below, so the next time you pressed enter, if I did what is my size of the font? 72. So if I do like 75, if I click here, it's going to move me down. There's going to be a 75 point gap between. So it's about the same size as that text. It's a blank space between the paragraphs. There we go. Let's go back to 0 point. Okay, so just playing around with the font styles and the character settings here, and then working around with the paragraph settings. Those are just some practices, and again, I hope that you are pausing this video to practice these different things on your computer. The assignment for, or actually one of the things I just missed on my tutorial was resetting all the values to the original settings, and to do that you're going to click the 3 lines, and then down here at the bottom you're going to hit reset character, and it's going to reset everything back to its original setting. So that way if you did make changes on this document, things are not going to be the same the next time. So that way you don't have to worry about things getting changed. You'll see that when I do click back in there, everything is back here to normal. If I was to select this and do my 3 lines, reset character, it's going to move it back. Everything is back to normal, whatever the default setting is for this program that you have on your computer. So the next setting, the next thing we're going to do, and you can do this one of 2 ways. You can hide these 2 text layers, or you can 2-finger click to pull up the secondary menu, and you can delete the layer, or you can click and hold and drag it down to the trash can and let it go that way, kind of like you do on the dock to throw things away. So what we're looking at here is we are going to take a screenshot only of this section. And the way we do that is holding Command Shift 4, and you'll see that that changes my cursor into a crosshairs, and you can see that it has some numbers. These numbers correspond to the location of this crosshair in the window itself, with 0, 0 being up here at the very top left hand corner. And let's see what we get down here. 1439 by 900 or 899 it looks like. So 1440 by 900 is our width. So because I have this crosshair, I can use that to make a screenshot and take a picture specifically of something. So instead of making a Command Shift 3 will take a screenshot of the entire screen, the Command Shift 4 will take a screenshot only of the part that we select. So right now I'm just drawing my mouse around here, and I'm going to let go, and you hear the mouse or the camera shutter go off. If I go to my Finder, go down to desktop, you should see a screenshot. And when I drag that out here onto the background, you'll see that that does appear here on my board, my document here, and it's completely centered in the middle. You'll see when I move it around, my guides snap on when I get close to those things, and it snaps right to those locations. So this is my center. If I want to resize this, I have the ability to do that. I just clicked off of that. I probably just try that again. So I have my, there we go. You'll see that there it is. It has the X across it like this. This means that I have not placed this image onto the document. I can resize on a corner. If I grab a corner, it's going to scale appropriately, all directions. If I grab a middle, it's, oh, this one does keep it proportionate. That's nice. And I want it to be in the middle. I want to have some space all the way around it. And as soon as I get it to where I need it to be, I press the return key and it locks it in place. And you can see that it says screenshot right here. That's a new layer. Now what we're going to do with this is we're going to use the type tool using a small font, and we're going to write descriptions about each one of the various buttons that are on this window and a little bit about what they are and what they do. And then we're going to use an arrow tool to point to that object. So this very first one is going to be the font type. And so as an example here, I'm going to click with a T out here someplace, and I'm going to say font type. And because this is so small, I can zoom in. Makes it a little easier to read, but then even then, that's still pretty small. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, probably in that 24 range. Right there. Now to draw my arrow, and I might actually add a little bit more, allows me to change the style of my font. Font style, whatever. Hover over top of this and it's going to tell you search for and select fonts. So this is where I can select my fonts, but this is a specific font style or font type. So once I get this out there, I'm going to use another tool. This one is the line tool. You can see that the shortcut is U. And when I click on the shortcut or on the U on the line, yours might actually be a rectangle to start out. If you click and hold, you're going to see that one of the options is the line tool. I click on that. Up here across the top, I'm going to choose a new fill color. In this case, I want to use bright red. And then I can click on that again to make it go away. You can see that the fill color is going to be red. I would stop this video and go out and try making these selections as we go through here so you don't get lost and have to remember every bit of it. So I chose the red color for the fill. I'm going to go down here to the weight of this line, and I'm going to choose, because of the size, I have 1000 by 1000 pixels and 72 resolution. I'm going to try 10 pixels. And then one more setting to make the arrow. There's one more thing. There's a little gear right here. I click on the gear. I'm going to make the thickness to 3 pixels, and then I'm going to do an arrowhead on the end of this line. So I want it to be on the end because I don't want it to be on the start. Excuse me, the start where I click. I want it to be where I let go. So if I click here and hold and bring it down this way and let go, you can see that now this arrow is pointing at this. And I don't like how big that is, so I might change this down to 5. I might have to delete that arrow and try again. That's a little bit better. Delete. I think I actually want this to be about 3 pixels. So now There we go. That looks a little bit better for the process that I'm doing. In order to go to the next description, I'm going to click on the T tool again. That will give me the ability to click out here, and I can type font size, and you might do a description a little bit more than what I have here. I'm going to move it just a little bit closer to that one. Use my line tool again, and because I've already made these selections and I know what this line is going to look like and what it's going to do, I'm going to click and drag it out like that. So what you want to do is have a description. Font style lets us choose a number of different fonts. I could type that underneath here. I could make this part bold. Let's do that. Whoop, undo. Bold. Does it let us do it here on this one? It does. Bold and condensed, or just bold, whatever you want. Font style. When I press enter, you'll see that it's still 24. It's still bold condensed. I might just leave it as condensed and say this will allow me to choose a different font. And if I need to, I can press enter on there to move it to the next line. And you can see now that I have covered up the font size, so I might have to move this a little bit. I use the bold because it lets me see what the item is, and then my paragraph is not bold, so it's just normal text. If I select this entire thing, I can always go over to the paragraph tab and hit left align, depending on what you're looking for and how you want this to look. If you have to adjust the arrow, you need to be able to click on the arrow and you'll notice I click on it, nothing happens. I selected the shape, that's fine, but nothing happens here. If I click on Show Transform Controls, that'll give us the option, the ability to move this. It's going to shrink it or make it bigger. It really doesn't give us any editing, like manipulation of this. We can go on the outside here and adjust the angle, and then move it to the location where it needs to go. We can't actually grab that arrow and reset it like we did originally. So if you have to manipulate the arrow afterwards, you're kind of limited in what you can do. But if you click on this Show Transform Controls, which is right, the Move tool, and then Show Transform Controls, you'll get the ability to move that around. So if I rotate this, you'll see I get to the outside. I have the rotation arrow on the outside of one of the corners. This will just let us scale it up and down. In order to lock these in, I have to press Enter or Return, and it'll lock that in there. So if I rotate it this way, I press Return, it locks that in there. Now that arrow is stuck at this location. Whoop, let's go back there. There we go. Perfect. So the goal for this assignment is to type out a quick description using the type tool for each one of these items, and you're going to draw an arrow to what it's talking about. So each one of these you're going to have an arrow pointing to. Each one of these you will have an arrow pointing to. Everything along here you're going to. Even the double arrows that point back, that shrink this into the ribbon. See if it pops up on there. Should say, it does not right now. That should shrink this into the ribbon, and then this one is the menu, the character menu. There are other things you can do here too. But so anyway, that's the project for this this lesson. And as you go through this, if you do have questions on anything, please ask. And I really hope that you have been pausing and doing this project along with me, as it will help make it easier to complete in the long run. If you have any questions, please let me know.